You got it? All right.
Hey, we'll do a quick opening statement. He'll go through each signee, and then we'll jump into questions. We got Presley over there and Jackson right here with the microphone. Just kind of raise your hand for us since we are streaming this. So.
Awesome. Well, first of all, if you think about the sprint that happened from the day that I got the job until now, I mean, what an incredible experience. I think we signed a great class. I'm really excited about the guys. But I think it says a lot about the staff before, guys staying and really loving Texas Tech. It says a lot about the new staff, the wives that came in just for the weekend for the recruiting visit so they could see our families. What Huff, Quentin, James Blanchard, Cody, Leisha, Presley, Kate, what they've done putting together. I mean, if you think about it, first week we have 4. The next weekend we have 13. I think they were in shock that I brought in 13 guys. And then this last weekend we had 5. And it was one thing that echoed through every part of this was family, family, family. And I think they were so impressed with the group that we brought in and the coaching staff. So I'm going to go through and talk about these guys. I've known a lot of them for a while, recruiting them at different places. And so the first one, Joseph, he's a defensive end, a true rush end from Mansfield Summit, comes from a really great coach. Their staff is really tough. They've produced some really, really good football players. And he is a guy that we felt like we really needed to come off the edge and help us in our pass rush. So you're going to see him play like a true defensive end, outside linebacker. I'm really excited about him. Bryson, he's a running back that's from Tyler Legacy. Coach Willis does a great job with his football players. In fact, he had 2 Power 5 running backs that signed today. Bryson was committed before I got here, and we were able to hold on to him. He was a huge priority whenever we got in. He was one of the first guys that the coaching staff, whenever they were able to get on the road, went to see. A lot of kudos, pats on the back for Coach Smith. The relationship that he built with Bryson was allowed us to hold on to him. Harvey Dyson, I'm going to age myself. His dad was actually a senior whenever I first got to Cedar Hill as an assistant 20-something years ago, so knew that family. He's a guy that can play inside and outside. He played outside like a true defensive end this last year, had a couple of interceptions, dropping into coverage, but I think we can also, as he grows, be able to move him inside. So excited about Dyson. This next guy, BJ from Gulf Shores, I tell every single person, put on his highlight film, and in 3 plays, you're going to know exactly who he is. He is one of the most violent linebackers I've ever seen at the high school level. And, man, just an incredible kid whenever he got here. What I really love about BJ, he's going to be able to play will linebacker, but he also could play strong safety if he needed to. But the first thing you're going to say, like it took me 3 plays. We watched game tape after game tape with him, but the first 3 plays of the highlight, I was like, James, what are you showing me, man? This guy's he is violent. And so really excited about him. Hutt, he's got a big game tomorrow. He's playing for a state championship, and fired up about that. You know, winning continues to help you win. He's been raised in a great program, comes from a coaching background, but whenever I actually got to work him out at a different place, and man, we loved him there. And so whenever I got here, I was fired up. I told him, I said, I just came to see you and get to coach you instead of getting you somewhere else. So really excited about Hutt. Marion is another guy that I've had a lot of experience with. What's really cool about Marion, and he's like Hutt, very versatile. He was the MVP on the offensive side of the ball in Oklahoma. He's going to help us tremendously on special teams. He's got really good hands. We're going to start him out at DB, but he could play running back or receiver. So really excited about him. This next guy, I've had a great relationship with his family. And when things kind of got crazy in the coaching world, I told him respected anything that he had going on, but if anything changed, something changed. So he was one of my first phone calls. Landon Holliby, he can play all 3 positions in the secondary as far as weak safety or a boundary safety, free safety or a strong safety. Really strong, physical kid, plays for a great coach and Coach Brown at Mansfield Timberview, but comes from a football family. And then mom and dad are just incredible. They'll be here every week, and just they're infectious. They just have such great energy. And so adding him, but adding mom and dad was really cool too. Ty Kana comes from one of the greatest programs in Texas high school football. When you're talking about Katy, Texas, and then you turn around and you talk about being coached by one of the greatest coaches in Texas high school football history, and Gary Joseph, he knows how to coach linebackers. And so Ty was, I told him, I said, you're fixed to make a huge impact on committing to us at Texas Tech, us talking about playing great defense, and a guy that's done that in high school. Joseph, Landon, Ty, those are 3 of the 5 high school guys that will be here in January. They'll move in January 8th, so that was huge. He'll play will linebacker for us, but I think he could grow into a Mike also. Really, really smart football player. He has played, if you think about it, he has played at Katy High School all 4 years. So he played varsity as a freshman at Katy High School all the way through, and that's saying a lot about who that kid is. Tyler King, another kid from the Houston area. If you look at his track numbers, they're ridiculous. He was a 20-point in the 200 last year, and that's ridiculous. I mean, like, you're thinking that maybe he's running that as a senior. Him running that as a junior tells you how fast he is. A low 10 in the 100. He'll be that slot guy that we need for jet sweeps. I think in this offense with Coach Kitley, we'll just excel. So really excited about Tyler, and he was really excited about being a part of this offense. Seth Martin comes from Everman, right outside of Fort Worth. If you know anything about that area, traditionally, Everman produces really tough football players. They had a really good run. Were like back-to-back state championships. He's a guy that I love from the standpoint, I think he could play all 5 positions in the offensive line. Athletically, lengthwise, we really want him to play center or guard, but really a tough kid, and that was a great get. Sincere Massey. So you see some Cedar Hill kids on here. I've known Sincere for a long time. When you see Sincere, you'll see, or if you look at his picture, you see why we wanted him. He's 6'5". He's got 82-inch arms. He has NFL measurables, and he is a mean dude whenever he's playing football. And so one thing that we wanted to do, and if you look at I've got one more defensive lineman, this next guy, but if you look at our 4 defensive linemen that we signed, the height, the arm length, the tape, you can see what we were trying to do in this class. And we were trying to get longer, and we were trying to have 2 really strong guys inside and 2 guys that could come off the edge. And so I'll go to the next guy, Trayvon. Coach Zarnell Fitch did a great job with Joseph and Trayvon. He had a relationship with him, and whenever he jumped on board, they said, we're jumping on board too. He's another guy, watch his tape. Like, if you're a center, you don't want to play this guy. I mean, he can play a true nose. He can play a 1 technique or a 3 technique. Whatever he plays, he's trying to knock that offensive lineman back. And I think if you watch the first couple plays on him, you'll see that. Jalen Peoples, I got to coach his 3 older brothers. They all 3 won state championships with us. One of them actually is coming. We're going to talk about him at the end. But Jalen is a true cover corner. One of the best in the state, ton of interceptions. The last game, I think Coach Perry's really excited about the last game because he returned a kick for a touchdown, can really run. And so we're excited about him, has great length, and had a great high school career. Ben Roberts. Whenever you look at Ben, I said it earlier today, it looks like he's not even shaven, and he's 6'3", 215 pounds. I don't know what this kid's going to grow into. We're going to play him at backer first, but he's still growing. And whenever you see him, you're like, Coach, he's 215. He doesn't even look 215. I mean, the way he carries it, I mean, he looked like he's about 195, and he's going to be a big human. Great family. Caden Weatherby, he is a offensive tackle from Colorado. He will be a mid-year and so that's going to help us going into spring. Football junkie. He's coming off a shoulder injury this year, but had a great junior year and has been committed to Texas Tech for a long time. And then the last guy of the high school signees is Sheridan Wilson. Sheridan is another guy. If you kind of look, I mean, you've got guys from Katy, you've got guys from Cedar Hill, you've got guys from Argyle. These are guys who are used to playing football right now, playing long into the playoffs. They're used to winning. They've grown up around great football. Sheridan won a state championship as a junior, and he's another guy that I really like. The thing about Caden and Sheridan is they could play tackle, but we could kick them in at guard. But they have the length to play tackle, and that was big for us. And then I'll talk about the last three transfers, and then we can take questions. So Brady Boyd is a kid from South Lake Carroll. I've known him his entire life. His dad was my very first OC at Cedar Hill. The kid multiple times in high school ran 4.3 on the laser timer in the 40, can track the ball, really great ball skills. The great thing about Brady is his football IQ. I mean, coach's kid, so huge football IQ, and he's a guy that can play inside and outside. So we got some really good length at receiver that are some of the older guys, and so whenever it's time, he can kick out if he starts inside. Dimitri Moore was my last class at Cedar Hill. He was an all-SEC freshman player at Vandy. He's a grad transfer coming back to Texas, and you'll see he's a wheel backer. He's got some really good length. I mean, he's almost 6'3", probably 230, 235 pounds that can really run. And the last guy, Tyler Owens, I had a relationship with him whenever he was in high school. He's from Plano East. Tyler, I don't know if y'all remember the state championship meet in the 100. The only guy that beat him was the kid that's running at Georgia, that's run the fastest time ever in the state. He, at 205 pounds in high school, ran a sub 10.3. So he can really run, and I think that's going to help us. The one thing that you'll see here, we got length on defense, but we also have some guys that can really run on defense, and that was huge to get some more length and speed on defense. That's our signing class. I don't know where we're going to end up in the rankings. Right now we're sitting, pretty good, but I think it says a lot to the support staff and to the coaches on and off the field of what they've been able to do. But I think it says a lot about Texas Tech and the administration and the vision that they have, what we're about to do with Regent Womble and Regent Campbell, their gifts. That was a big part of what we were able to go into homes and say, this is the support system. This is what Texas Tech's all about. The one thing, too, is when these guys got on campus, the opportunities they have educationally was huge. I mean, they're like really being able to study what they wanted to study was a big part of this recruiting class. So that's us right now. We might have a couple more. I could see us signing at least 2 more in February, if not before, even maybe today. So we'll find out soon enough. So I'll open it up to questions.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned you might sign a couple more. I don't know if you talk about this or not, but what positions are you looking to address?
The biggest thing right now we would love to have, because my goal was to sign 4 high school offensive linemen. And so I would like to sign 1 more high school offensive lineman if it's the right fit. But right now we're looking for some offensive linemen.
And then I'm curious about Elston. What was the initial connection there with him? Because I think most people have the same reaction that you were talking about when you put his tape on.
Yeah, a lot of people missed. I'm glad we didn't. James Blanchard, I'm telling you, that guy, you'll see, and we'll say it over and over and over, James Blanchard and Cody Belair, as far as guys that whenever I get here in the morning, they're already watching video. When I leave at night, they're still watching video. That is what they do. They take great pride in evaluating. I think there's a lot of guys in this industry on that side that put a lot of things on paper, cut and paste a lot of things. That's not what we do. We watch film and we evaluate players, and that's the things that they do. And the one thing that they do whenever they bring them to coaches and bring them to me is they have verified height, verified weight, arm length, times. If they don't have it out there, then they get on the phone with the coach. We send a video. This is what we want to see. This is how we want them measured. These are the examples. Please send in everything to us. And so when they come into me or they go to a position coach and they say, we love this guy and this is why we love him, well, they've got a lot of things backing. And it was real easy to see why we fell in love with BJ.
Coach, a couple of the guys you got to kind of flip towards your way were already committed to, programs that were a little bit more set in stone. How'd you get them to buy into a program like yourselves, but you being a first-year head coach?
Well, a little bit having good relationships. Also, I think a lot of times when these kids commit and they're not committing to you, then there's a response to maybe be not real kind. And not like there's some coaches that rub these kids the wrong way whenever they don't commit. And the one thing that we try to do as a staff is congratulate them, and say, hey, we want you, but if you're going somewhere else, good luck. If it's in the conference, that's the game you're going to lose. But we wish you the best of luck. And so it's one of those deals, I think, because we've done that, we're able to get back in on some of this. And then the other part is we had guys that had great relationships with them. And so that helped a lot whenever things kind of got out of whack in college football.
Anything that you said to some of these kids in particular that, you really saw a fire coming in their eye that really made them want to join Texas Tech?
I think the energy that they saw on campus, the fan base has been incredible. I mean, I actually, one of the guys sent out a tweet that he committed, and he was going, oh, my gosh, Pat Mahomes just liked my tweet, and so you've got guys like that love their university. Josh Abbott loves his university. And so when you have that kind of fan base, and that's our fans are really awesome. Whenever I send something out or a kid says he got an offer, man, Texas Tech gets behind us. And so they were excited about playing for a team that has that kind of support.
Yeah, Coach, how vital was it for you to be able to have just this first month or so to really just focus on recruiting here to Texas Tech?
It was huge for recruiting. It was tough on me because I like to be on the grass. I've been able to watch a lot more practice, these bowl practices, but it was huge because there were some things that we felt like that we really wanted to address, and I think we did with this class. And so being able to sit and we call it the war room, it's kind of hot in there right now. There was some heated talks and some excitement this morning with some guys coming in. But it was huge to be able to just do that. And then, trying to learn everything about us, everything that we have going on here, I was able to do that a lot quicker, not doing both at the same time. But I think it also says a lot of what we've done recruiting this team, because right now, everybody's here and everybody's going to go play in the bowl game. And I think that's huge because that was part of it too, is recruiting guys to make sure they wanted to be Red Raiders with the coaching change.
And you mentioned when you first got here wanting to keep talent in state. I think 12 out of 16 guys are from Texas. Do you feel like you were able to successfully do that for this signing class?
I was. My feelings got hurt this morning on a couple of recruits. They're always going to be, of like guys that you didn't get that you were hoping, but learned a long time ago, the guys that signed this morning, they were supposed to be here, and they're going to be great Red Raiders. But there was the ones that necessarily maybe weren't, because I always tell everybody I kind of consider Oklahoma part of Texas, and so whenever I look at that pocket, and then again, we talked about it. There's a couple guys when you put on tape and they were interested, we couldn't pass up the opportunity to get a nose guard like Trayvon and a linebacker like BJ to come to Texas Tech.
Coach, with this group of signees, you talked a lot about West Texas tough, Texas tough. How does this group of signees fit the mold of that?
Really tough. I mean, I do think whenever you go through here, of course, I mean, you're going to go through here and you're going to go coach. There's not anybody really truly from West Texas. So the first part is I think this is a really tough class. I think what you are seeing on that West Texas tough is the group that we're recruiting right now. And so it was tough. You know, I was a part of some of it in other places that recruited guys and maybe did too good of a job to get them flipped now, but we're not going to let that happen anymore.
There's been a lot of hype, you know, on social media with getting these recruits. So bringing a talented class like this to Lubbock, and what does this mean for Red Raider Nation and the community?
Well, I think, earlier I said it, it's really incredible how Red Raider Nation gets behind us and the support. And they're a huge help. I mean, they're a huge help. I mean, you know, we all know, and sometimes I do too much, live on social media. And so these kids, it drives a lot of like, man, this is a real place. I'm getting so many likes and so many retweets, and this guy's following me. And so whenever you're doing that at the pace that our fan base is doing it at is a huge help for us. You know, the one group that I didn't get to mention, I want to say for sure, is Matt's group. And Joey, you know, the guys that were doing all the edits for us and the video this morning and hanging out with us and putting that, what we're putting out content-wise, I think is second to none. And I really think if you follow today, when we were releasing these guys, I think we're as good as anybody in the nation of how we released them.
Joey, the breakdown right now is 11 defensive signees and 5 offensive signees. Is that the kind of tilt that you expected or wanted?
You know, it was. I wish that we had a couple more. I'm not going to lie. I wish we had a couple more offensive linemen, and we're going to go after those guys. But we did. Whenever we were sitting there looking, we wanted to get faster. I know we have some fast guys, but we really wanted some length on defense. And I think this group, you know, they're going to have to grow up. You know, there's no guarantee that any of these guys. The good thing is we got some mid-years, but, you know, what they impact next year is going to be a lot on our coaches of how we develop them and how they grow up and how hard they want to be coached. But we did address a lot of speed and length.
Also, at your introductory press conference, one of the statements you made was regarding the transfer portal. You said you really lean toward taking Texas kids who want to come home. I noticed a few days ago you got a pretty big endorsement on Twitter from Reggie Pearson's dad. Yeah. Reggie being a Michigan guy, since Matt took so many players who from a long way away in the transfer portal, what's your message to some of those guys who still have eligibility left who don't have that Texas background?
You know, I think it goes back to grad transfers first, and then, again, we're going to focus on Texas kids trying to, if they're not happy where they're at, being able to come home and play in Lubbock and play in front of a great crowd. We're going to evaluate every kid and see how they can help us and help this team. But it's got to be a really good fit. No matter where they're from, it's got to be a really good fit. I think I was talking to Massey this morning, Kirby's assistant and administrative assistant, and I said, we got really, really good football players, but we got great people. I mean, these guys, there are some really great kids that want to be coached and be developed, and I think that's really big in what we signed.
Coach, looking at this class, you've got one running back, one wide receiver, and no quarterback. Is that more of a testament to what you already have here on campus, or is that more what you could be focusing on later today and into February?
No, what we have on campus. I mean, the quarterback room is, I think, as good as anywhere in the nation, you know, and so really excited about those guys. And then receiver, we got great depth, we got great length, and then the running back room, we've got, you know, some older guys and we got some young guys, and you know, they've been a great fit, and they've been real responsive of what we're going to try to do. And so I think it was those guys were strategic on who we were getting in those positions, because that's a really, like, I would have taken a tight end if the right tight end fell, but that wasn't just a huge need because they're all young. But really, the wide receiver, running back, tight end room, we got some young, really good young football players. And so it was more the need on length on defense and then some offensive line help.
And if there's something you could use to describe everybody in this class collectively, what would that be?
They're fired up to be Red Raiders. I mean, this was if you look at the guys on this list and who they were offered by and where they could have gone, and they chose to be Red Raiders, it says a lot about them, of how much they're in love with this university and how bad they want to get here.
Hey, Coach, you kind of mentioned who you're recruiting now. I took that to mean the 23 class. I know you can't mention anybody by name, but by 24/7 Sports Rankings, top 5 class right now. I know it's early,
Right.
tops in the Big 12, but can you speak to just how y'all have been able to get off to such a fast start, the potential with that class, and then kind of generally what you're looking to accomplish with that 2023 group?
You know, the fast start, I think, was being able to actually like really recruit, and I wasn't coaching in a game. So we were able to get the right guys, and then not being afraid to get guys to, hey, come out here and see what's going on in West Texas. Now, some are really close, but a couple of them aren't, and they weren't afraid to take a little drive and get out here and watch the football, take some unofficial visits, and really kind of see what the campus was about. So I think that was huge. I mean, I said it from the get-go. I've said it to different people in the media. I don't think it's hard to recruit to West Texas. I do not think it's hard to recruit to Lubbock, and I've got the numbers to prove it as far as how they can get out here and where they could go versus coming to Lubbock. I know we have a lot of direct flights to get here, and there's a lot of places that you don't. And so I think if you plan it out right and get the parents to understand where they're coming and the opportunity they have, then it's a lot easier than people think. The potential, you know, we'll always, you'll see kind of the way we recruit, we're always going to side to sign big people. We're signing a big class as far as D-line, so we'll be real particular in the D-line, but we want to add some more offensive linemen in that group, and, you know, that will be a time, too, to really try to go get the best quarterback that we can get to fit in this system. So we're going to push hard, you know, for that group, and we'll still be young in some positions. So we're going to be really particular of how we recruit this group.
Coach, how many of the new assistants had a chance to help you with this recruiting class? And if it wasn't that many, I mean, how much more are you impressed with the fact that you and James and Corey Belair were able to do so much work in such a short amount of time?
Well, everybody but 2 was able to get at least one recruiting visit with us. You know, Coach DeRuiter and Coach Yates were not, but they also had a relationship with one of our guys that we signed, so that was really good. It says a lot about the support staff. And it says a lot about, like, Huff's wife at every recruiting event. I mean, she is a rock star. And so that's the thing that I think our families, or the families that are coming on this campus, the way we recruit and wanting them to feel a part of a family and bringing everybody that's going to be around their kids to get them to know them, I think that's huge. And so our coaches' wives, you know, I got to start with mine because she's right there in the middle of it, but I think that was huge to get them here. And a lot of them literally would be coming in for the weekend and having to go back and pack and do all that stuff. And, you know, Huff's at a bowl prep and all that stuff, and his wife's here recruiting with us. That says a lot about the staff that we've put together and the staff that stayed, of how much they, I keep saying it, but how much they love the Red Raiders.
This guy right here was talking on the radio this morning and made me think of this question, but you guys got 15, 16 guys in the class. When you go into a situation like this, is there a number that you think of? We want 75% of these guys to stick around. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there, obviously you want 100% success rate, but is there a number you guys typically think about with a group when you sign them?
Well, we want 100%. You're right. We want 100%. If we do this right and the way we're going to recruit, I do feel like it's a developmental guy that we're looking for. I mean, of course, there's going to be guys that jump off tape. There's going to be different things. But those guys, if they feel like they have a genuine relationship with me and the staff, And even if they're not playing a lot, if they feel like they're being developed, then they'll stick around to be a part of that and be developed. And they'll turn around when they're redshirt sophomores or even a redshirt senior, and they're going to be part of a Big 12 championship. So I think the guys we're recruiting, if you look through here, if you look at whether it's track times, what they've thrown, length, any kind of film, you're going to see guys that can really be developed into something special.
Joey, when did Landon Holliby tell you that he was going to sign with you?
Last night, you know. And there's a couple. You think about this, like Joseph and Landon are both mid-years, and so they both came this last weekend to visit, and so it had to happen quick. Luckily, we have relationships with them. They're both from the Metroplex. I know both their head coaches. We're really close, and so those guys helped a bunch. Both of them FaceTimed me this morning during the signing day, both the coaches, and were fired up for their athletes.
And there's already talk nationally about the possibility of early signing day being either discarded or moved around because of the disruption with coaching changes. What's your opinion on whether you like mid-December signing day plus February, or what would you do if you were in charge of college football?
I want to keep it the same. I've been a part of both, and you know, I like getting a class finished in December or as close as possible and seeing what's out there. You know, the thing is they don't have to sign in December, so whether if they want to slow down, our guys wanted to, you know, and I wanted them to. I wanted to get these guys. There wasn't one person on here when we were talking to them, we were like, hey, we want you to wait. We want you, and we want to get you in here in December. So I would keep it the same. There's no perfect, because there was a reason that they voted on it this way. I don't know if you'll see this ever again in college football. I mean, you might, but I don't know if you'll see this many changes the way you have changed as far as that many jobs, possibly as early or as late as it happens. So we'll see. This might be the trend. We'll find out. I like the December signing day.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thank you all for being here, too. Thanks, Coach.
You bet.